Hello, hello, hello. Today I'm going to talk about Shattered. Shattered is book 3 in the Jubilee Ministry novel series. My name is Lady Rumford and I want to give my review. What's Shattered about? So Shattered, if you haven't listened to book 1 and 2, please feel free to. Shattered focuses on the third son of Reverend Okafor, Kingsley. Now, technically, Kingsley is the second child, but Kingsley is also the illegitimate child whose presence and existence has created all the chaos that is going on in Jubilee Ministries International. So, Kingsley's origins are tricky. In book 2, they made reference to the fact that Kingsley's mom was underage when Reverend Okafor got with her. Not much was said about that in this book. I don't know why, but maybe in book 4, Sharon's story, we'll hear about. Sharon is the fourth child and the only daughter of Reverend Okafor. Her own story is leading. Anywho, Kingsley is a very, very troubled child. He's an adult now. He's 32 years old, so he's no longer a child. But he was a very troubled child. This boy suffered from spiritual problems, emotional problems, rejection. His mom rejected him. His grandparents rejected him. He eventually grew up with a reverend father who raised him like his son. And that's how he was raised. He was raised somewhere in the East, even though he's a Yoruba boy. Kingsley is angry. Kingsley is troubled. He's all over the place, but he's a very hardworking, very good-natured person. He just has a lot of trauma that follows him. Spiritual trauma. Like legit, his ancestors are stressing him. I don't know how else to explain it. His ancestors are on his case. So apparently Kingsley is he's supposed to be the embodiment of their family's god or shrine, or I don't quite know how to explain it. Something called Obatala or something. His body is supposed to be he's supposed to hold, he holds the title to some god, and being a Christian, he has rejected it. With that rejection comes a lot of trouble. This boy has nightmares, and he sees visions, and he has powers, and he has premonitions, and he has seizures, he will black out. Like, he's been through a lot, and it has made his whole life pretty much miserable. And he doesn't really understand the origins. Why? Because he's an illegitimate child who is not in contact with his parents. He doesn't know who his father is. He knows who his mother is, but he has lost contact with her since he was, 8, 9 years old. The reverend father raising him has tried to ground him in spiritual stuff and, pray and everything, but he's still troubled because apparently there's something he's supposed to conquer. Which brings me to his lady love, the girl he has the hearts for. Her name is, how did her name just go out of my head? Anyway, she's a widow. She has been widowed for about 7, 8 years and is pretty much going through the motions, but she has an okay life. She's raising her son, and she's doing okay. Her name is Adeola. Yes, I remember. Adeola. Adeola is trying to raise her child and just, do what she can. And she meets Kingsley in a very dramatic, I don't want to spoil it, so you have to read the book. In a very dramatic way, her and Kingsley come in contact with each other. And eventually, somehow they meet again and they start talking and they start to develop feelings for each other. But Kingsley right now is not in the mood for a relationship because, like I said, this boy, his ancestors are haunting him, man. He has spiritual problems and emotional problems. And he's the source of the scandal in the church. Anyway, read the book to find out how everything plays out. But let me tell you some things I love about the book. One thing I love about the book is that it showcased how, because Pentecostals, we are Jim, fire, Holy Ghost fire. But it showcased how the Orthodox Church handles spiritual matters. Things like spiritual warfare is very different from how the typical Pentecostal church will approach it. The Orthodox Church, they have a different approach. And I like that was showcased. The Reverend Father, the way he tried to handle this thing as best as he could. I like, the reference to how Kingsley himself was put in a position where he had to face and confront his demons, literally. And, I also like that the characters were not perfect. So these characters are not people who are like solid Christian. Kingsley wasn't even born again. He just managed. Adela herself was pretty much just a church girl. She goes to church. She tries to be a good girl. She's a widow and everything. So these are flawed people who are just trying to find their footing. And I like that it's showcasing even their love life. So they didn't have this perfect love life that, they knew everything, to do everything right. They didn't pretend to be who they were not. And I have to give shouts out to Rosemary because Rosemary knows how to write banter between lovers that will make you just be giggling. I will not like to send my husband a text. You just be giggling. I'm like, Anyway, it was a nice read, very nice read. I'll give it a 3.8. Let me just say a 4.4 out of 5 stars. It was a wonderful read. I like the way and then there's a lot of Yoruba in it, some scary stuff. I used to read the book at night. So it was a good read and I recommend it. It ties a lot of loose ends from the other books, but obviously there's still some loose ends because we have a 4th book coming. And I recommend that you read it. It's a nice love story and it's a nice story of redemption. And, it wasn't an easy battle. Big ups to the writer, Rosemary. Kudos. Well done. Well done to everybody who contributed to this book. I absolutely enjoyed it. Peace.